What's up, desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back for another episode of Bodybuilding University. And today I'm joined by Aaron Polites and Dave Palumbo, and I believe we have Stanimal Longeaux joining us very soon. Firstly, I'll go to Dave. Aaron's currently driving around doing something. But Dave, how have you been? What's been going on?
All good. The bodybuilding season is well underway. I mean, we had a lot of excitement with the Arnolds, and we got the Arnold Brazil coming up. So a lot of reporting to do. I think this week was a little bit of a quieter week, but I always have stuff. We always have stuff going on. There's always someone beating up a cat or something like that. That we can report on and stuff like that.
that story. Aaron, I don't know if you've seen this as well, and Stan's just joining us. I don't know if he can hear us yet, but the guy who was sponsored by what's up, Stan? The guy that was sponsored by Young LA. We've started, by the way, Stan, just so you know, just in case you're going to do anything that's questionable. But the guy that was sponsored by Young LA, I don't know if you know his name, Dave, but I don't know if you guys have seen that video. But
is it Aioli or something like that? Is he that Aioli kid?
Oh yes, Aioli. Yes, yeah. I can't remember what his name is.
Lee Priest hates this guy because Lee is an animal lover. I'm an animal lover too. Lee, and I was trying to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. I said maybe he was just joking around, but Lee went crazy on this guy, and I think Young LA they put out a statement and they suspended the guy. I have Lee on the show tomorrow on our show, and we're going to be doing a full thing. I was going to get the guy on the show, but he doesn't speak English. Evidently, he speaks only Spanish.
Yeah.
What did he actually do to the cat?
So the video is basically he strangled the cat a bit, and then he punched the cat, and then he threw the cat on the ground and stuff. Like it's not a great video. Like I was scrolling through that, not expecting to see the video, and I saw it. I'm like, okay, yeah, this dude, he just literally ruined himself.
Did you really think he was beating up the cat? He kind of was like doing it like he looked like he was just doing like a fake, like I didn't think he was like really hurting the cat, but but animal people, and I'm an animal person, dude, they go crazy. They don't even tolerate kidding around about that type of stuff because it might have been portraying that he was like abusing the animal, even though he really wasn't. I don't think he was really hurting the animal, but he was portraying that he was hurting it, which was that in itself is kind of sick, So I know Lee was nuts. He went crazy on this guy,
I've only watched it a couple of times. It didn't look great though. Like regardless for perception, I don't know why someone with 1.6 million followers would even do that. I'm like, is it some sort of cultural thing or what? Like I don't get it. No, I don't know.
I think he thought he was being funny, but it wasn't funny because it's like a helpless animal. It's like doing that to a kid or something like that. You just don't do that shit,
I think there's like some nationalities that treat cats like shit. I've seen a few videos where people are abusing cats before. I don't know what it is.
Well, there's a few nationalities that eat cats too,
Yeah, so. I've seen a lot of cat stuff before. They have little respect for cats for some reason. I don't know why.
I think in general people respect dogs more than cats. I don't know. It's just for some reason.
I guess but doing that to any
cats
animal,
are evil or something like that.
Doing that to any animal is going to get you so much hate online. Like,
yeah, Aaron, I don't know if you saw when it happened that. Dave and Stan, I don't even know if you know of these animals. There's these animals on one island in Australia off the coast of Western Australia, and it's called Rottnest Island, and they have these animals called quokkas, and they're these little friendly, like larger than a rat, but more like I don't know what you'd call it, something like a possum or something. But they just come up to people, super friendly, and everyone has these photos with these quokkas, and they always look like they're smiling. But these one or two guys were over there and they abused these quokkas. Like it was bad. They were kicking them all that. So yeah, it was bad. The way they come down on that in Australia, like, yeah, if that guy was doing that to a cat in Australia, he would be in probably a lot of trouble, I reckon. So yeah, people don't really, in general, mess with animals in Australia. It's one of those things where Australians, like Lee, they go nuts at. But they will, if they find out who you are and where your house is, good luck.
Don't you think I think when people get too popular on social media, they think they can get away with anything, and they start doing wacky, weird things because they run out of things to do that, and then they just step past the line, and all of a sudden go from being like super popular to getting canceled. You see it all the time.
Yeah.
You see it with celebrities in Hollywood too. They do the same thing. They think they can say anything, and then they one day they just say something, and next thing they know, they can't get another part in a movie. They kicked off TV. They lose their endorsements. It's like you got to be careful in today's world. They cancel you in 2 seconds.
It happened to Kevin Hart. Remember, Kevin Hart made some homo joke, and then man, it was. I watched it on that Netflix series. They try to cancel him.
Yeah. Well, it happened to Dave Chappelle too, didn't it?
But they're comedians. Like comedians say the craziest shit in the world anyway.
Right. You got to let them off the hook, because they're comedians. Exactly.
It's making him actually more popular now. Like Joe Rogan even said that he walked out somewhere with Dave Chappelle, and he said it was like a rock concert. He said Dave's like more popular than ever, and so it's actually making these guys that get cancelled more popular.
What about
like even like Trump,
that Ricky Gervais? Have you watched his stand-ups? He says the craziest shit ever.
Yeah, he gets away with it because he's funny.
He talks about pedophilia all the time.
Yeah.
He's funny.
These comedians won't even do college campuses anymore because the college community is so woke that they're afraid to even. They're like, we won't even go. No comedians will do the college circuit. It used to be when I was in college, every comedian would do the circuit. They'd go to all the top colleges because they made big money. Now these kids, they don't even think it's funny. They don't even know what to laugh at anymore. These kids.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
This next slide
has
a bit.
The next viral. They're just trying to create the next viral video, or
See, stands in the car too. It makes me feel better, Xavier.
Yeah, I know. I thought you're getting off lightly there. I thought the next slide here was going to have the video of it, and I was like, I'll show it for 1 second. I'm like, nah, probably best not to on YouTube anyway. You know how it is, Dave.
Yeah.
Got to be super careful. But Aaron, how's things going with your prep for New York, man? I've just seen some videos and photos. I'll actually share that just a second. I saw Patrick Tour shared up a video.
Yeah, obviously it's a bit of a roller coaster at the start, but we're in a real good groove the last few weeks. So I don't know what's happening, man. Like everything's coming off so easy right now. Like my body just gets leaner every day. And the last week and a half, I'm sort of like getting bigger and leaner at the same time. Like my weight was going up last week for some reason. I think it was like less stress. And then just lately just getting rounder and leaner by the day. And we're not changing anything, bro. I've made one change. I didn't even know that he posted that. I only sent that to him 20 minutes ago.
Oh, really? He's quick.
Didn't waste any time, man.
Yeah, that was fasted this morning. Like I went to gym, did cardio, and then sent Patrick those videos. But everything's just coming off super easy. Like we're only doing 30 minutes of cardio, foods. I'm still force feeding myself on the high days. Like it's just cruising along, I guess. And Patrick said this morning, no changes. So, it's happy days, really.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. And you're one of these guys that always evolves as you prep as well. And Dave, what do you think about Aaron obviously coming into, he finished, I think it was 9th, one spot ahead of Angel Calderon in 2019. Obviously Angel's improved, but it looks like you have as well. Dave, what do you think about Aaron's chances going into obviously New York against Kerif Bajo and some other good 212 guys, but also like the Olympia?
I mean, from what I'm seeing, you made some serious improvements. I think you can probably win the show if you really show up as freaky as you're looking in these pictures.
Well, it's cool to hear. I think it's going to be the biggest.
You look like an open guy, muscle size wise.
Yeah, I'm only 5'4", but I was 95 kilos this morning, so practically 212 on the dot this morning, fasted.
Yeah, I mean, your height definitely works to your advantage, because you can pack a lot of muscle onto that frame, and still make the weight.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I guess weight doesn't mean too much, is it? Because look at Keown. I think Keown was like 200 pounds or 205 pounds. And
but he's got that crazy, structure. Not everyone has that genetic structure that he has. Yeah.
But like he looks so much heavier than that,
Right. Because his weight is like 23 inches.
Yeah, bodybuilding is just such a fickle thing. Like that, some guys you never can pick the weight. But as long as we're better.
212 pounds at 5'4" is a pretty good combination. I got to tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Just got to get peeled and that's it. Let the rest sort itself out. I think that, Patrick said it's going to be the biggest lineup of 212 competitors in New York for ages. So I don't know.
Awesome.
I don't know when we'll officially know that, but Yeah.
And
Not, you know
Stan,
why
Well,
there's
we
so many
got-
guys? Because there's not a lot of 212 shows anymore.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I used to be able to slap out like 3 in a row, Indie Pro, New Zealand, and now New York. Now I have to do New York, and I got to wait for 3 weeks before I can do Toronto, because I'm going to go back to Vegas and wait, and then go to Toronto. But
That's smart.
that's what you're going to, Stan, aren't you? Or no?
Well, I'm in Vegas. No, I'm going to Vancouver. But I'll be in
Vancouver.
Vegas
That's right. Yeah. I'll Oh, that's what you're doing, right? But yeah, you've got your update here too, man. You're 15 weeks out of Vancouver, which is exciting. So you've obviously made some pretty good gains, and seeing the photos side by side, you can actually see it a lot more noticeably. But you're looking really good, man. And 15 weeks out, we were actually saying before you joined, Stan, that your off-season conditioning is sort of like Palumbo-esque.
Thanks. Yeah, we haven't started dieting. This is the peak of the off season, actually.
That's awesome.
Pretty good starting point. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It's
Some
fine,
guys
You
don't.
only need about 8 weeks to diet, man. You're pretty lean.
Yeah.
Bro,
Well,
you
I've been
can
eating though.
you get ready in 4 weeks easily, sure.
Yeah, 4 weeks.
I mean, we wanna, trying to get that Hadi conditioning. So that's what we're going for, like next level conditioning.
Yep. Sure, man. Well, it's looking good so far. So yeah, definitely doing well. One thing I wanted to discuss on this podcast today is sort of a little bit about that, and it's how many guys still are yet to qualify for the Olympia and how good the quality of guys is. So I've made a bit of a list. So we've got a qualified list already, which I'll bring up shortly, but here's the list of names, or a list of names. You guys feel free to add anyone that I'm missing off here in terms of qualifying for the Open this year. So this is a bunch of guys that I believe are competing this year or planning to try to qualify for the 2024 Mr. Olympia. So who are not qualified yet: Nick Walker, Andrew Jack, Hunter Labrada, Mikel Crizo, John De La Rosa, Sergio Oliva Jr., Carlos Thomas Jr., Tonio Burton, Regan Grimes, Charles Griffin, Justin Rodriguez, Martin Fitzwater, Brett Wilkin, Stan Longeaux, Nathan Diasha, Stuart Sutherland, Hassan Mustafa, Good Vito, Rafael Brando, Kamalo Gagni, if you choose to do Open, Angel Calderon, who's doing the Open at New York, Quentin Araya, Tim Budesheim, Theo Laguerriere, Roman Fritz, Antoine Valiant, Akeem Williams, Baruz Tabani, John Jewett, Andrea Presti, Phil Kahar, Max Charles, Joel Thomas, Alfred Chiriac. So that's
Sergio. Okay.
Oh no, I think I said
Oliva.
Sergio.
You said Sergio.
Oh, you did?
So that's 34 guys on top of the guys that are already qualified for the Mr. Olympia. So we're going to have
Theo is already qualified.
Oh,
He
okay.
won the Japan Pro.
I'll take Theo off the
I
list.
thought Roman Fritz was qualified too. No, maybe not.
I think
Did he win some shows at the end of the year?
I think they were
but it was on
Olympic
Samsung.
qualifiers for 23.
Oh, they were already qualified. Oh, they were Olympic.
I think so. So we've got we're going to have, no matter what, a very good Mr. Olympia competitor list, because obviously all these guys aren't going to qualify. It's impossible because there's 21 shows, I believe, remaining to qualify, or something like that. Or maybe
everyone waits till the last minute again. There's a lot of shows that are coming.
Exactly. But you put 2 of these guys in every show, then you're going to have a competitive contest for every contest for the rest of the year, and some of these guys are going to be doing multiple shows. So it seems like we're going to get some really high quality contests this year. And you got the inclusion this year of guys like Martin Fitzwater and Quentin Araya that weren't competing last year. So Dave, with all the recent prize money coming in, all these competitors, and then you got guys like John Jewett and Angel Calderon from a 212 doing the Open now. Do you think this is going to be the best Open Mr. Olympia in a few years, or, with potentially big Ramy coming back?
Yeah, I don't think Ramy's going to come back, but he might. Yeah, I think just the guys at the top of the division are going to make it really good. I think, between Hadi coming in and winning those 2 Arnolds, it's going to be a great, rematch between him and Derek Lunsford. You got, obviously, Samson is right there knocking on the door. And then whoever else is going to qualify, I'm sure we're going to see Nick Walker on that stage, which we didn't have last year. So it's definitely going to be a better Olympia than last year. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I think that's goes without saying. Obviously, Andrew Jack is kind of like that wild card. You never know what you're going to get from him. If he makes improvements, I mean, he's going to be also super, super dangerous. So, yeah, I think, and I said it, I said it probably at the beginning of the year. all the new guys, the younger guys that are coming up, are finally coming into their own in terms of muscle maturity. So they're getting better and better. Whereas, you know, we had to wait a couple of years before they started maturing. Now we're seeing it, you know, come to fruition. So I think, like I said, the next 5 years are going to be like a kind of like a little mini golden age again, where we're going to see some really, really tough competition on the Olympia level, because all the guys are just kind of hitting that end of their 20s, early 30s. And that's kind of usually where people peak, you know, in bodybuilding.
Absolutely. And there's a ton of guys that are sort of, I'd say, contending to push up into that sort of position just outside the top group. Because you've got Hunter, who's looking ridiculous now. You've got all those guys that I think are going to start to solidify that top 6 to 8 group. But then you've got a ton of guys like your Tony O'Burton, who placed 8th at last year's Mr Olympia. I think there's a ton of guys that can try to be that level of physique as well, like your Beirut Tabanis, if he's able to get to the Olympia. Akeem Williams can get back to that level, I think, based off what we've just seen. Your John Deloroses, there's a whole ton of names pushing up to that. What do you guys think in terms of, I suppose, bodybuilders out there that can push to that point? And obviously Nathan Diashe, if he's able to make it to the Olympia as well, there's a ton of names there. Is there anyone that sticks out to you that you think can push up into that top 10 at the Olympia?
Anybody. I think that's the thing. It's going to be very, very competitive. All these guys.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, exactly.
Quentin Aria really impresses the hell out of me. I got news for you. I think he's going to really shock a lot of people this year.
How do you think he'll do with Matt Jansen? Do you think that will be a difference for his prep?
I don't even think it matters who he can prep with. I think he's a genetic freakazoid. And I think, you know, he's been just making gains every single year that are just off the charts. And he's tall and he's got a great structure. And I think he's another like potential Samson Dowda, like seriously dangerous guy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How do you think Antonio versus Nick's going to go at New York? Like, do you think Nick's is too much for him, or because Antonio's looking pretty good?
I think structurally Nick's too big and too muscular, but I think Tonio by himself looks like he would beat Nick, you know, just because of his insertions.
Nick's going to be too overwhelming, you know, but yeah.
People thought Dexter was too small too, and he beat a lot of people.
Tonio actually reminds. Funny you say that, because Tonio sometimes reminds me a little bit of Dexter, like the small waist, and it's very freaky. The rhomboids, how they sit really high on his back, like got a lot of freaky shots, you know.
I was actually just on a podcast with Nick Walker the other day, and I mentioned to Nick that I just have a feeling after he does that New York Pro, I think he's going to look dominant again. I think he's going to get that same sort of hype, but maybe on another level than he did it when he did it a few years ago as well. And I just think we're going to come out of that New York Pro going, is Nick Walker the favorite for the Olympia? Because obviously there's recency bias there. And I think that if Nick can bring the conditioning from the front and the back to sort of be that in between of where Hadi and Derek is, if Hadi misses it a little bit and isn't quite as crisp from the back, and Derek isn't quite as crisp from the front, and Nick sort of nails both of those. Does anyone think Nick can win the Olympia this year if that sort of plays out for him?
Yeah, but Samson too, you know, if now Samson like push the conditioning a bit more and, you know, add a little more size, and that's it, game over there too. I mean,
you'll never see Hadi show up and out of shape again, ever. That will be the look you see every single time. For the guy can consistently hit his peak. They tried something at the Olympia last year, and it didn't really work out as well for him, because he has to bring the freaky conditioning. He can do it every time. He's never missed, you know. So I don't think we're ever going to see him off. And I think he's going to be, the only way you're going to beat Hadi is to outstructure him. And I don't know if Nick can do that. You know, I like Nick's freak factor, because I'm one of these guys that likes the mask monsters, but I don't know. Hadi is so polished looking. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for Nick to beat him. I
agree with what Dave said. It's hard to say when we just seen the best Hadi ever. Like the Hadi, not the UK one, the Columbus one. That was lights out.
Yeah.
People were. I'm not being disrespectful, but people were saying it was sort of close. I don't believe it was close. I believe he came out. It was just perfection. Like he was just shredded. When he did the vacuum into and crunched his abs into that most muscular, far out. The detail on the serratus and the abs, like the fullness, it's hard to have anyone beating that. It's going to be so difficult to beat that.
And you didn't even see that in person. In person, it was even crazier.
I said that to my mate. I was like, bro, imagine that front row. Like, it's never the same.
I was sitting in the front row. It was right
I
there.
remember watching videos of myself back on the Olympia, and I looked terrible. I'm like, in person, it's so much leaner. Like, I know that for a fact. I've seen it. In person would have been disgusting. So it's just hard for me to imagine someone coming along and just beating it from 4th place or 3rd place and just beating Hadi. Do you know what I mean? So eventually, maybe, but I wonder how long Hadi competes for. How old is he?
I think he's
no one really
mid-30s. I'll look it up.
No one knows.
He was always younger than people used to think, because everyone used to think that he was like,
is he over 40?
He's 36.
I think he's 36.
Oh, shit, he's young.
I think his birth certificate is in the same place that Barack Obama's birth certificate is. No place.
He can easily do another 4 years then. Or that everyone's in trouble then, aren't they?
He's under 40. No, he's under 40, definitely.
Yeah. But
he looks older because he's got that beard, but he's under 40.
Yeah.
And nonetheless, it's going to sell Olympia tickets. If Nick comes out the best Nick ever, I'm sure Derek's growing in the background. Everyone forgets how fast Derek grows, and then Hadi's just delivered the best package of all time. It's going to be epic to watch.
Who's the Mr. Olympia favorite at this point? Who do you guys think I suppose is the favorite amongst the fans, and who do you have as a favorite? Aaron, you go first.
Oh, that's tough, man. Bro, that's so tough.
But isn't that good though? Isn't it good that we're like, we don't even know who the favorite is?
I truly can't split Hadi and Nick. I know Hadi was just the best ever, but sorry, Hadi and Nick or Hadi Derek? Hadi and Derek, but I'm sure Derek grows like a weed. Like that man just grows nonstop. I'm sure we're going to start to forget about him a little bit, and then he's going to put some update up in a couple of months, and he's bigger than he's ever been, and the waist will be just as tight. But
it's not something just. He doesn't really need size at this point, so that's not really what we need to see from his updates. Like it's more that conditioning from the front that's really hurting him right now.
If I had to have 100% choose one, I think Hadi's an inch in front of him.
Yeah.
To take it back.
So you put your money on Hadi.
If I had to choose one, I'd go just because I couldn't. It was flawless at the Columbus. I couldn't really fault him. So.
Yeah, we need to have a bet, bro.
Why are you going to go, Derek?
Yeah, I'll go Derek.
Bro, I was all Derek the last few years. I still am, but I was just really shocked how good Hadi was at Columbus. So
yeah.
If it's a 2-man show between those two guys, I think it's going to give the edge to Hadi, to be honest with you. If it's not, if we get some guys like Samson in shape way he needs to be. You get an Andrew Jack who shows up, looking insane, and Nick, it could disrupt that top 2. See, Hadi and Derek can compare really well because they're like almost the same height, and if it's a 2-man show, it throws everything off. But if the other guys, the taller guys, are in there because their conditioning is where they need to be, with those guys, those guys could lose. We haven't seen last year's Olympiad. No one else was really conditioning wise where they needed to be. That's why I think people were saying if Nick Walker was only in this show, he might be Mr. Olympia. He might have won that show because Hadi was off a little. Derek looked great from behind, but his abs weren't quite as sharp. So, Nick could have won last year potentially. I mean, so it depends really on who brings what. I think if Hadi shows up like he did at the Arnold, I said, it'd be hard for anyone to beat this guy, I think, unless Samson puts it all together and brings like Ronnie Coleman conditioning to the stage.
Yeah.
Also, if Hadi wins the back, it sets that up for an epic Olympia the following year because it's like a battle again. Like he's won it back, and they rarely win it back, do they?
Very rarely.
Jay Cutler won it back.
Yeah.
It would only be Jay and Hadi, wouldn't it? If Hadi was to win it back.
Yeah.
So Jay's the only one to win it back.
Yeah, I think Jay's the only one who's done it, which is crazy. But these are new updates. These are actually posted by RX Muscle. And look at Hadi here. Like, he seems like he's completely changed his physique from Olympia to Arnold Classic. His waist appears more narrow. I don't know if he's wearing a waist trainer or what he was doing, but it seems like his physique's gone from looking more unaesthetic to looking super aesthetic, at least in this pose. Dave, what do you reckon he did to do this? to make his physique so much more aesthetic. You know?
I think he knows that he doesn't need to be a lot bigger, and I think he's working on details is what he's working on. You know, bring up the shoulders, bring out the lats. The lats look like they're popping more here, and I think that's why he looks more aesthetic. His waist was never big. He's just short. That's all. And he's got crazy leg separation. You know, to me, the thing that impressed me the most, and I don't know if it was because I was there in person or because he just brought really good conditioning, his waist looks like it's shrink wrapped from the front and the sides are just retarded. And he has great obliques, but they don't stick out past his waistline, which a lot of guys do. I know that used to happen to me. I had really crazy obliques, but they would like jut out a little bit. His don't. They're like even with his waistline. So it just looks really good. And he can hit every pose he can hit an ab pose on, you know, from side chest to tricep. All you see is abs. And that's a very impressive thing to have. And he doesn't have any loose skin at all around his waist. To be honest with you, I'd like to see his lower back a little more shrink wrapped. Like it almost makes his front and sides are so good. It almost makes that look. I'm almost expecting to see lower lat striations, which I really didn't see from him at the Arnold. It didn't matter because he was that good. But if he can get that part in, I think that he's almost unbeatable at that point.
You know what? You know a standout pose for him. I reckon a pose that sets him apart from everybody. When he does like what Sean Roden used to do, does the quarter turn to the right on the stage and puts his arms up and crunches the serratus. That just separates him from everybody. Nobody in that top 6 can do that. Not one person can do that.
Nope.
Yeah.
And it's like guitar string, piano strings on the sides of his abs. It looks so freaky. You know?
Yeah.
I'd love to have that shot. It's so dominant, man, you know? So, yeah.
The Middle Eastern abs, I call them. They got great
abs.
It
exposes the others a little bit there because it sets him apart.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Now, Derek Lunsford and Hadi Chupin, I believe they both have really aesthetic front double biceps now. And I'm wondering, how do you guys think that Nick Walker, a completely different front double bicep, but a very obviously imposing one, how does that match up against Derek and Hadi on the front double? Can he beat them on the front double, or do you think not?
No.
No.
I think so.
No. You think so, or don't think so, Stan?
Not as
I think he's the freakiest guy on stage, but I don't know if he beats him on. I think his just aesthetics are not as good on the front double. He beats him on some other poses, most muscular.
Yeah.
Side chest.
Side chest.
He brings up sweep a little.
Stan, you're dropping out bad.
Potentially you could have. Ready?
You're good now. Good now.
He's got to play to his strengths.
Nick wins the side shots because he's so dense.
Yeah.
But Nick's pretty good in the front double considering how big he is. Like, it wouldn't be easy to be.
It's not a weak shot for him. He just, Hadi's got, and Derek have got this teeny tiny waist. It's just very impressive, you know.
And they can vacuum.
Yeah.
Can Nick vacuum or not?
No, you see it on his abs, though.
He looks better when he sits on his abs, I think, anyway.
Yeah, when he vacuums, the problem with Nick is it elongates his upper body and makes his legs appear even maybe slightly shorter.
Bro, do you know another strong thing about Hadi? Hadi does both and looks good in both. Not many people look. You either when you do the front double, you either crunch the abs or you vacuum. It's always one or the other. You never do both. Hadi does the vacuum and then crunches into the abs, and they both look good.
Does he do that on his front double, or does he do it on?
Have you noticed? Have you seen him? He vacuums and then slams them down, and
he does it on both. He does it on both,
and they stack up, and he looks good in both. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, it's a great way to do it because you're showing off your small waist, and then you're like, but look, I've still got this, you know.
It's just another weapon. It's another weapon that he has that the others don't have.
Yeah.
So John kind of good at that too. Like he started seeing on his abs too, and it looked good too.
I wonder how much. Yeah, I'd love to actually know Hadi's. Obviously, you can't interview him, right? Because he
I've asked to with Hani, but Hani's always sort of been like, "Oh, we'll see how things go." But I'm like, it's not going to happen.
I'd love to know what he does for his abs. Like, does he even train them? Does he train them every day? I'd love to know. That's the only question I'd love to ask him.
Yeah, you might as well ask Ronnie Coleman what he does for his arms too, and then you'll get the same answer.
Well, I feel like
genetics.
I feel like
genetics.
I don't know. I feel like Hadi is more like he probably worked for it more than Ronnie. You know, more. I would feel like it came more naturally to Ronnie than Hadi's way.
Remember when people used to say, if you squat, you're going to thicken your waist?
Yeah.
No one squats heavier than Akeem Williams, and the guy's got the smallest waist on stage. So it's genetics, you know, that's just Hadi structure. And, you know, it doesn't matter what he does. I mean, I'm sure he trains hard. He probably trains everything hard, you know, but, you know, you can't ask a genetic freak what they do for a body part because they don't even know that anything they do works for them.
Oh,
Ask the guy who had no abs and then got abs, and then you'll find out the real secrets.
Yeah, true. That's true.
Sure.
That's true.
For
You
sure,
ask
but
the
what
guy-
I think is,
you
like,
ask the guy that turned a weak point into a strong point.
Exactly.
but Hadi has beautiful abs, but I think the ab control, I think he works it, like how he can really suck in his vacuum, all that stuff. That's work.
That's work.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
You could
Yeah,
tell he
for sure.
practices his posing a lot, you know.
Oh yeah, it's everything is hit the same every time.
He
Not
probably
one
does
thing.
it every single day. He probably works his
Oh yeah,
pose.
for sure.
Most guys do
Sure.
it 6 weeks after a show, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Aaron has Hadi winning the Olympia, or is his favorite. Dave, who do you think should be the favorite, is the favorite, and who do you have winning?
Here's the problem. There are guys that have better physiques than Hadi and Derek, but they just haven't proven to be consistent at all. So I would not put my money on them. So if I'm betting, I'm going to bet with Derek and Hadi. And you know what? I like what I've seen from Hadi at the Arnold, and I'm sure Derek will be better than he was at the Olympia. But I don't know if he's ever going to get that hardness from the front in the abdominal area that Hadi has. So if I was a betting man, I'd say Hadi. And I'm a super Derek fan. I love his physique. I think he's got a great back. His back double is probably the best on the stage, and he's consistent too, which is good. But I can't bet against Hadi. He's just that good. You know, after seeing him in person at the Arnold the way he did, you'd be crazy to bet against that guy.
Okay. I'm going to bet against that guy. I'm going to say Derek Lunsford, but just because, reason being is because you got to think Derek won last year, and who's going to make bigger improvements from last year's Olympia to this year's Olympia? And I think it's going to be pretty comparable between Hadi and Derek. So that's why I'm thinking Derek might just stay that tiny bit ahead with just those improvements. Right. Improvements of a year of extra muscle maturity on Derek, I think will serve him really well. But I'm so impressed with Hadi's improvements that really I'm like, if I'm guessing, I'm like 51% sure Derek wins and 49% sure Hadi wins, sort of thing. It's that sort of close, which I think is super exciting for the Olympia because we're going in with no one knowing who's going to win. So it's likely it's probably going to be a close Olympia.
It's way more exciting when it's that close.
Yeah. And it was like that last year too. And we came out of prejudging, no one knowing who was going to win. And even after prejudging, just watching it as a whole in real time, I left going, Samson could win, Derek could win, Hadi could win. And I was really confused. And Aceto even said it while being there as well. And people are pretty harsh on the judges, but for everyone to be saying we don't know who's winning after prejudging, it's a tough job.
Let me qualify something. All right, let's look at this past Olympia. Who was at their best? Derek. Was his best? Was Hadi at his best? No. Was Samson at his best? No. So that's why I'm basing my decision on Hadi, because I think Hadi's going to be better. I know he will be. Derek, Samson, I wouldn't bet on. I don't know, because I haven't seen him consistently I've never seen him bring his best conditioning. So if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say no. I like his physique better than both of those guys, but I don't think he's going to bring what he needs to bring. But if he does, he'll win. And Derek it was already perfect last year. So yeah, is he going to get a little bigger? He'll probably be 5 pounds, bigger, but is that enough to beat Hadi at his best? I don't know. Might not be.
Yeah. Stan, what do you think? Who's the favorite and who's your prediction?
I'm with Dave on this. I'm going with Hadi, simply because I think first of all, the improvement he made between November and March are extraordinary, and so that just make you think what is he capable of doing like in the next 8 months, and or 7. But also what he needs to improve. I feel like he can just add a little bit of size, his hamstrings or triceps or couple places, and that's something that he, adding muscle, he's capable of doing. What Derek needs to do is really get the hardness from the front, and I don't know if he can do that in 1 year. to really be comparable to Hadi from the front. So I feel like what Hadi has to do is easier in a way to improve than what Derek has to overcome.
Yep, that's fair. That's fair. So yeah, 3 against 1, rough. But and that's crazy coming out of an Olympia where a guy who's improving won the Olympia. You've got probably at least 50% of people predicting against him. So
you might be right.
None of us would have said. None of us would have said this if it wasn't Columbus.
Right.
Of course not. Yeah. So
props to Hadi for coming out swinging and making the statement.
Yeah, he didn't have to wait a whole year to redeem himself in a sense.
Because how many people would have done that? Well, most guys would have went away and just done another off season, and he said, "No, fuck it, I'm going to come out and make it." And it worked so well. It was such a smart move, I think.
Yeah, very smart.
And he made hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Dave, what do you think about?
Imagine how big next year is going to be with $500,000, bro. My God.
Yeah.
Even Nick said
this year, I think the Olympia is going to raise the money. They have to. I guarantee it will be 600,000 this year.
I mean, it's 6th year anniversary. They have to make it special.
Yeah, they're going to raise it.
Yeah, true. I forgot about that.
Sorry?
I said I forgot about that. The 60th anniversary.
Yes,
they got to raise it over Arnold. It's going to be the 600,000. You'll see.
That's why 600K makes sense, actually, Dave. Because I've actually wondered what they'll raise it to, and I'm like 600K. I'm like they might just do 550 or just to get above it. But 600K at the 60th anniversary, it makes sense.
Yeah,
lines up.
I think so.
I still reckon they should trickle the money further down the for the Arnold anyway, to get a bigger lineup. They push the money down further, so guys were getting paid more to like maybe top 10. You'd get a better lineup of the Arnold instead of just giving all the money.
They'll do that.
People want to know first place. They don't care about the other guys. They only care about first place.
But it's for all the money to go to first when it's just going to be the Arnold. Like it's just going to be like Hadi or Derek's not going to do it, right? It's just going to be Hadi or Nick or I guess that's Samson maybe, but I don't know. That's my opinion.
Well, if Derek loses the Olympia, you might see him at the Arnold.
You might have to do the same thing Hadi did.
Yeah, he might have to pull a Hadi.
Yeah.
I actually
but for $500,000, Hadi might come back too, even if he wins.
Well, as you said on your podcast, Nick said he's doing it no matter what, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna bring that up. He did say so. I was on a podcast with Nick the other day, and Nick said something about clickbait or something like that. I think he was referring to me, and because I actually tagged him in the story, and he did say on Mutant in the Mouth, which is a podcast with Guy Stanimal. He said, Guy said, "Oh, if you win the Olympia, you wouldn't do the Arnold, would you?" And he said, "Absolutely, I would." He said, "500K says otherwise." And then he goes on about that for a little bit. And yeah, I put it out. I said Nick Walker commits to the Arnold or something, and I don't think he liked, but he's like, I haven't committed.
Bro, imagine winning 600K and then winning 500K.
Yeah. Oh man. And the thing is, these other Arnold Classics plus the Dubai Pro, if you decided to go on a run, and Nick mentioned about doing all the Arnold Classics. So say you get 150 for one, 100 for another, 500 for another, that's your $750,000. And then just say the Dubai Pro goes up. Well, Nathan Biasha, who obviously knows the guys at Oxygen Gym, he said he predicts that they'll try to give away $500,000 or $250,000 next year at least at the Dubai. So I mean,
don't think so. I think we'll see 150 for Dubai. That's my prediction.
He can make over $1 million in half a year, and that's just a prize money. What about obviously he's got sponsors in that as well?
How much do you think it will help pro bodybuilding?
Of course,
I think it helps a lot because
more people want to compete.
Yeah, for sure.
Even as fans,
take home if they raise the prize money at the Olympia to 600. Hadi can walk home with $1 million this year, more like 1.1, right?
Yeah, plus sponsor money.
Yeah.
You'd be nervous if you gave sponsorship.
We might get back to the days where, like in the 90s, when they were driving to Gold's Gym in Ferraris and shit.
I got news to you. Iran will give Hadi a Ferrari. He won't have to pay for it. I guarantee it if he wins it.
No. Well, we see when Big Ramy and Hadi, win contests, and even when they don't, there's with Big Ramy, he had so many cars with his face all over the side of it, saying Big Ramy and the double-decker bus and all that. Can you imagine if they did that in Australia, Aaron? How motivated you'd be to win the Olympia?
Yeah, bro, I was thinking about Big Ramy this morning. You reckon he's not coming back, Dave? I was randomly thinking about him this morning. Like, do you reckon he's done?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Really? I thought he was like fixing his shit up and going to come back.
Well, what do you think he could beat any of those guys in the top 4 we just mentioned? Nick, Samson, Hadi? No way.
Nah.
Derek?
No.
I wouldn't rule it out based on what he looked like about Arnold, but if he'd placed higher at that Arnold that he came back at after the Olympia, I think we'd have a different perception, because I thought the package was pretty good overall. Like,
he's going to do the guest posing in Pittsburgh, so we'll see what he looks like in Pittsburgh in May, the first week.
Why would he do that though? But why would he do that if he's going to retire?
Well, I didn't say he's going to retire. I don't think he should do the Olympia. That was really what I should have said. I didn't say he wouldn't do it, but I don't think he should, because if he does it and he doesn't place top 5, that's not good, you know.
True, very, very true. Let's get on to a few listener questions, because we've got quite a few this week, so I want to get through a few of them. First question is Martin Fitzwater the front runner for the Detroit Pro? Where could you see him placing at the Mr. Olympia? Now, in terms of a Detroit Pro, in terms of competitors, you got Justin Rodriguez, you got Martin Fitzwater. I heard Moshe Bam, but I think he's out. Stan, do you have the other names? I don't have them off the top of my head. I've got a list here somewhere.
I thought that show was stacked.
I heard John De La Rosa was doing it.
I heard he's a possibility. Yeah, is he definitely in, Dave?
That's what the list I had when I had reported on Heavy Muscle Radio on Sunday night that Sid had gotten from Fuad was. I'm looking for it right now. I can read you the list. Oh, here it is. Martin Fitzwater, Good Vito's doing it too. Justin Rodriguez, William Martins, Ron Gordon, John De La Rosa maybe, and James Hollingshead maybe.
Yeah.
How do you think Good Vito is going to stack up to these points?
I think people don't realize.
I'm seeing from Cito, he's great.
But I think the one thing that he's pretty short.
He's short. Good Vito is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so is Martin Fitzwater. Martin Fitzwater's 212, right?
But I always expected when I saw his pictures, because he's very well balanced, right? So I always thought he was a big guy, like 5'10" or more, and I thought he had more potential than Crizo. And then when I went to Brazil 2 years ago, I saw him. He was competing at that show. He was super short to me. I was really surprised.
How short? Like 5'7"?
I mean, it was shorter than what I expected. So you know, it's hard to tell. I would say 5'5", but he might be 5'7", 8. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I just had the perception of him being like 6 foot tall.
Well, Hadi's 5'7", isn't he?
Hadi? Hadi is like 5'7", 5'8".
Yeah.
I think Good Vito's going to do very well, to be honest with you.
I wanted to bring this up because this is some of the old photos he's posting here on the left. So this was from the 10th of February. And you can see here, they're in the same place. And you can see the difference in color of the background.
Yeah, I was going to say, first thing I was going to say is that's super edited, man.
Yeah. And the shadows as well. Every shadow on his body in this left photo is dramatically darker than the ones on this photo on the right. So it's like he's posted these, structured images on the left, darkened in certain areas, more contrast. And then he's posted this one. And now everyone thinks that he looks like absolute crap on the right, when it's just, you're looking at a comparison to where it looks like, okay, he's got smaller.
I wish I looked like such crap on the right.
I
wish I looked that bad.
But that's what people are thinking. They think he looks like crap in comparison, because they're like,
crap
all these
to
weeks,
what? Compared to what? That's a great
compared to his,
what are they talking about?
Compared to his Photoshop photo on the left.
Yeah, that's why, bro, you're better off just taking regular iPhone photos, and at least it's consistent. At least it's consistent. And then if people see you in real life, they go, "Fuck, you look better in real life," because the one on the left looks like he's sent it away to a proper editor, and they've literally put it on a computer and ran. That's like there's a lot of effort gone into that.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous to do that. I've never understood that. I will never understand it. Because
that's why you surprise people on stage.
Doesn't edit his pictures at all. He looks better on stage than he does in his pictures, which is.
But you never. I hate to be told. I never want to be one of those guys where you know those guys. So many we could name right now off the top of my head, and everyone says, "Oh yeah," but when on show day he looks like trash compared to his social media. I'd hate to be one of those guys.
True.
How common is that though? They get out on stage and like, is that the same guy? What you look so different on your social media because they're professional photos all the time.
Yep.
Goob's weeding him out slowly, but yeah, it just hurts the competitor once they hit the stage. But the other side of that is, look at how popular Good Vito is in terms of social media, and would he be as popular if the images were he was posting these ones or ones not as good? Like, would he have 200,000 less followers? Would he have the same?
Yeah,
What?
Nah, but you know what? Maybe he would have had less, but then when you go and dominate the show, you'll get the followers anyway.
Yeah.
But if
let's see how he does.
If you under promise and over deliver, you're better off doing it that way than over promising and under delivering.
Absolutely. But there's definitely guys like Serge, what's his name? I'm trying to think of what his name is. Is it Sergey Constantine or something like that? And he had millions of followers. Yeah, and he competed, and it didn't, you can tell it's the same physique, but he just didn't look the same. You know, he just didn't look at all the same. But would he have garnered those millions of followers had he have just done it with his normal physique, which is still a great physique, but it's
right. But you know what, Xavier, you got to remember, he was more of a social media guy, Sergi, and that's where he made his money. So for him, it was important to look good on social media. Good Vito is a bodybuilding competitor, so I don't know how much he's making from social media, but he wants to do well in competition. So, you know, I think that's why everyone's saying that maybe you should just lay off the filters a little bit and just stick with how you really look, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
What you want to picture, I just wanted to say that the guy behind that's Pacho, his trainer, Fabrizio Pacciolac, he's 5'10". And you can tell how much he's in the back, and he's still way taller than him.
Yeah. I wish he was right next to him. But, yeah.
No, he's about 5'7".
But who cares? Look at Derek's not tall either, you know.
Yeah, Derek and Hadi are 5'7". Derek's 5'6", I think.
Yeah, but it's diluted on stage, of course. But like, I don't know. I haven't seen him pose like in person. I just saw him walk in person, and I was like, oh wow, he's way smaller than I expected him to be.
Yeah. If he was 6 foot and looked like that, it would be. I know what Stan's saying. It'd be crazy. It'd be like, whoa, okay, we need to watch out.
But then again, look at Sean Claridice, the midget, and he smashes everyone.
Yeah.
Right, he won a Chicago Pro. He beat Sergio and Regan at 5'1".
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, which is crazy. But yeah, I just wanted to sort of ask that question and maybe give I completely agree with you guys. It's honestly best for these guys, at least in terms of, especially if they don't like hate. If they don't like hate, don't post any of the Photoshop pictures and then show up on stage, because
I don't think they care, bro. The more comments, the more Instagram algorithm in your favor. I don't think they care whether they hate or not.
Yeah, some care, some don't. I mean, Dave, you're past the point of giving a shit what anyone says about you online. I know that much.
But yeah, I don't even read it, so I don't know. I don't know what people say. You got to put up social media. What I'm telling people is, I tell people you should put stuff up on your social media. Just don't read the comments. Who cares? Put it up and move on to the next post.
As long as you're not strangling cats, who cares? That's right.
That's right. Good point, Eric.
All right, next question. Water manipulation. What way is safe and why? What way is wrong and not a good idea? Dave, obviously you've prepped a ton of people. Well, actually all of you guys have, I think, prepped people. So Dave, I'll go to you first. What do you think is safe and why in terms of water manipulation?
This is kind of a homework assignment. I hate to do homework assignments on shows, but I'll say this. You can lose all the water you need to, okay, within a 24-hour period. So anyone who does diuretics, in my mind, for more than 24 hours or restricts water for more than 24 hours is an idiot. Because what happens is, let's say you start 2 days before. You look your best the next day, and then you're fighting the diuretic because your body is fighting the diuretic for the second day, and you never look as good. So my suggestion is, don't restrict salt, don't restrict fluids, don't take diuretics until you're at the day before your competition. Then you can do all that manipulation that you want. And how you do it, everyone has their own technique. All I'm going to tell you is that there's no reason to do it more than one day. And I can promise you that no matter who you give me, I will get them dry and in shape dry and hard, I should say, in one day. Okay. Any more than that, you're extending something that doesn't need to be done, and you're risking screwing the person up. I'll leave it at that.
Good point. And the thing is as well, I'll go to Stan in just a second, that people go, oh, okay, you don't need diuretics. Or some people go, oh, well, you know, very few people openly say, yeah, I really like using a lot of diuretics, even though there are people out there that do. But the thing is, using a little bit is probably not going to mess you up too much. And it's not going to, you know what I mean? It's going to be better than nothing, most likely. You're going to get a slightly better look on average for most people. So I don't know why bodybuilders can't just go, I'm just going to use a bit. But obviously we know the mentality people are.
No, because you know what it is? People like to have very complicated protocols the last week because they think it's better. Okay, I got to make 400 different changes to my program the week out. When I look great a week out, why would you try to do a million different changes when everything is working so well? You tweak a few things the last couple of days and that's it. I mean, the less you change, the better. If you have to do a lot of manipulation the last week, it means you're not in shape, probably.
Yeah.
True.
I think to answer
back in 1 second.
I feel like a safe way to do it is to just do water load, so you don't rely on chemicals, on like diuretics, like medicine. You just like load the water for the week before until the day before, then you start cutting down, and then you watch your water intake the day of, and you just create a natural environment to flush water, and then I don't have much to worry about.
So have you had diuretics many for your shows, Stan, or not?
Yeah, I usually half a diazide the night before.
Yeah, I usually take like a quarter the night before, sometimes a quarter in the morning of my diuretic, and that's it. Really small amount. But I've always wondered what my physique would look like without it, because often I look pretty ready to go anyway. But it definitely improves me like maybe 3% better. You know, I only take a tiny amount, but I always wondered what I would look like a little bit without it.
Don't do it. I tried it one year for the USA because everyone's like, you don't need diuretics. You're so dry. Yeah. There's something called nervous energy, a nervous water. And because, you know, you're nervous when you go on stage. You're better off having a little bit on board just to flush out that extra stuff than to do none. Very few people can get away with none, you know, but like you said, a quarter of a diazide is not going to over dehydrate you, but it's going to get rid of just enough to make you look super sharp, you know.
Yeah, John Dewar got me thinking about it because he said he doesn't use it, and I was like, I wonder how much fuller I would be if I didn't use it, you know. But because like I've looked at photos a week, I've looked at photos a week out before, and I've looked ready, 100% could have competed that day, and that's obviously not diuretic. But there's no doubt, 100% when I take it, it improves my condition a little bit. So
plus, no one sleeps the night before a show very well, which raises cortisol levels, which can cause fluid retention. You're better off having something on board, you know.
I've never understood the 5-day load. I've heard of people.
I know.
I've heard them taking it from a week out. I would be dead. I'd be like a zombie by that point. Oh,
me too.
Yeah, that's just crazy. And I've heard people running multiple different diuretics at once too. That's crazy.
Dangerous.
There was a guy who was running 150 milligrams of aldactone on these girls for like 2 weeks. And I mean, you can die from that. I think some of them might have, you know, but just ridiculous.
Yeah, one of those girls that died, apparently, I can't remember which one it was. It was that story. Apparently, she got loaded for a week straight and then she died.
Yep.
It's crazy. And why would you want to dehydrate a muscle that much, you know, and your body in general that much for that long? It just makes no logical sense.
No sense.
It's what Dave said. When you do it, you hit your peak look within like 24 hours. So why would you want to start it a week early? I just don't understand it. They act like they're trying to remove 10 kilos of water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
And some people think that diuretics burn fat. Like they think, well, if I take diuretics starting at a month out, I'll look better for the stage. Well, why? You're just losing water. You're not burning fat with the diuretic, you know?
That's the problem. They can't differentiate between fat and water. That's the problem.
No.
Well, back in the day, they apparently used to think that test made you fat because you obviously held fluid with it. so they would only do test off seasons, and then they would add in all the orals pre-contest.
Bro, how many amateur shows have you been to in your life? I've heard this 100 times. Oh, bro, I need a little bit drier. It's like, no, you need 6 weeks more dieting.
Exactly.
That's so common, you know?
Yeah. And it's so funny when you'll see him from the back and there's just not one tiny bit of detail. I'm like, well, either you have some serious disease which is causing massive inflammation and water retention, or you're halfway through your prep. Like, it drives me nuts. All right, next question. Which was better look in your opinion? Ramy 2020, Hadi 2024, Arnold, or Roden 2018? We sort of discussed this on one of the podcasts, but I'll go to you first, Stan. Obviously, being the training partner of Sean Roden, I assume you're probably going to go Roden 2018.
Yeah, I'll go with Sean, but Hadi had the Arnold this year. Hey,
they're saying Roden.
Yeah, I say Roden, and then but Hadi this year at the Arnold was extremely impressive, and I didn't get to see that in person, so it's always different.
Hard to judge, yeah, for sure. I think in terms of who would win on stage today, I think it would probably be Hadi. But
no way.
What you think? Who do you think?
Roden destroys Hadi,
even though that's Hardy's best.
Destroys him.
Dave, did you see both in person?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that gives some more context.
Roden has just got this. He's tall. Don't forget, he's got that structure. It's small waist. I mean, come on,
bro. Roden's legs detail and the leg from the side was one of the best quarter.
Yeah.
There's no way Hadi stands next to Roden.
Yeah. Well, what do I prefer? Because it says, I think the question was, what was a better look in your opinion? The best look was Roden. Like, I love that physique. It is just. Yeah. I think that's what they should reward. I'm trying to think of what I think would place higher, maybe in. Who
did Roden beat?
Exactly right.
Phil Heath. Phil Heath, 7-time Mr. Olympia. Come on, man.
Yeah. Have you guys seen his documentary?
Yeah. I haven't watched it yet. I want to watch that Breaking Olympia documentary though. It looks cool.
Oh, I haven't seen the Phil Heath one now. No.
Oh, obviously, he was supposed to win that. The whole point of that Netflix was he was supposed to win, right?
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, yes, of course, but that's kind of beside the point. He kind of like close the loop. He says, he started first Olympia, he got third. Last Olympia, he got third.
It's like back in the idea. They made an actual movie on, I think it was the Red Sox, and it was the time they broke their massive streak of not winning the championship. And I think they made a movie, and it was like a document. I don't know if it was a documentary, but it followed it, and they shot the movie, and that was the year they won. But the story is meant to be they lost again, sort of thing. So yeah, Phil Heath was sort of, in a way, I think they really wanted that story to go as he won the Olympia, because if they filmed that, it's a more epic sort of story. But it's still not worked out. But Dave, I know you were having, and I also want to have on George Farah, because he's got that Guru documentary coming out very, very soon. Now, when I reported this in a bodybuilding news video I did, there's a lot of people that doubt things that George Farah says. A lot of people are saying he wasn't a police officer, all this other sort of stuff. Have you seen the documentary or got a preview of it or anything? Or
I have not seen a preview, but I did interview him already. The interview will go up this coming week. And it was a very good interview we did together.
Awesome.
Look, I one of the things you have to remember about George, and George has got he's first of all, the guy almost died legitimately a couple times. All right. So there's no doubt about that. What the reason he almost died was, that might be debatable, but he did almost die a few times. So he got shot and he beat stage 4 cancer. So he's got I think an outlook on life now where he doesn't worry about what people think about him. I think he seems changed to me too, a little bit, from what he went through. And George is a sensationalistic type of person. He embellishes things a little bit. You ever read the story, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, when you're in school?
I've heard of it, but I haven't read it. No.
He lived in like a fantasy world, but George did accomplish a lot of the things that he said he did. So the truth is, he doesn't need to embellish his stories, but but I've always been friends with George, even when I break his balls. And I even asked him, one of the questions I asked him, I said, who does a better impression of you, me or King Kamali? And he pretended he didn't know that we both did impressions of him, but he's a good sport about the whole thing. And really, he does have a pretty interesting story to tell. So we went through all the stuff that he been through in his life, getting shot, then going through stage 4 cancer. It was misdiagnosed at first. And then, he wound up beating it, and he still has some residual issues. It's not a bag. He doesn't have a colostomy bag, but he has like a bladder bag. So he lost his urinary bladder. So he's not like, he didn't beat it scot-free. He's alive, and he feels good. And he claims to me that he got his PhD in integrative medicine during the COVID years, which if he did do it, I don't see why he would lie about it, but that's pretty impressive that he was able to, achieve that degree. So he's a smart guy. We know that. He likes to embellish his stories, and there's nothing. I guess there's no harm in it, but sometimes you don't know when you should believe him or not. But the story that he has lived his whole life, is pretty impressive, and it's definitely worthy of a documentary for sure. I'm sure the documentary is going to be very interesting, to say the least. I don't know how accurate it'll be, but it'll definitely be interesting to watch.
Yeah, that's what I was looking forward to seeing, and I was wondering if there's any inaccuracies in there, if there'd be anyone out there to fish them out. You know what I mean?
Oh well, I'll fish. I'll fish them out if there are. But he, like I said, I think that he has enough legitimate stuff that he's done in his life. I mean, he has worked with these athletes, and he's gotten good results, and he became a pro himself, and he had a good physique, and he was shot. Yeah, he made it to Olympia. He was shot. We don't know exactly why, but he was shot, and he did beat cancer. So, I mean, that's enough of a story alone. You don't need any more embellishment on that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, if all you guys saw this or any of you saw it, but did you see Silvio Samuel on Dennis James, the Menace podcast? Did anyone see that? How he said he won a gold medal or something in the Olympic Games for wrestling, and then Dennis called him out on it, and he basically was just, Dave, I will send you the link. It is one of the funniest things. And the next week on the show, Dennis said, "Don't come on my motherfucking podcast and lie to my face." He's like, everyone can see your lie. He checked it, and because
Dennis James
invitation. Dennis says shit exactly.
That might be the best Dennis James invitation I've ever heard, actually.
Dennis says shit exactly how it is. Dennis doesn't hold back.
No, he doesn't.
That's better than my Nasser impression.
Because you know what's funny? I found it funny on the Olympia podcast when Fuad was trying to be biased to Samson, and Dennis was just shutting him down. Did you see that? Dennis was like, "Nah, Hadi's definitely better." That was on the
webcast, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was like just saying straight how it is, and you could sort of tell it was annoying for Fuad a little bit,
I'm sure.
And Fuad doesn't have a very good sense of humor about that type of stuff either, So
it was a little bit exactly watching that, I reckon.
It would be hard though, having because I would be, if it was my athlete in the show, I'd be sitting there. And Fuad knows if he says, "Oh, look, I think Hadi's winning this," but then Samson sort of improves and looks a bit better, because it's hard to judge your own athletes as a coach or as a commentator or as a coach or whatever. So if he knows if he says something negative about Samson and it's like 50-50 among the fans,
he might drop him. Yeah, he might leave him.
Yeah, but Samson be like, "Why is Fuad saying that about me?" So I get it.
I'm going to tell you something about the live cast, and I don't know if people know this. Okay. The people who are doing the commentary on the live stream are watching a live stream. They're not sitting in the front row, which is stupid. And it's no one's fault. It's just logistically almost impossible to do it, because if you're doing commentary, you're sitting in the front row. It's so loud. No one, it might be, but really the live broadcast, they should have a little table right in the front where they're sitting watching the show live, because otherwise they're getting the same view that the people at home are getting. So I don't even blame Fuad.
They're sitting in a media room behind in a special media room, aren't they? It's like I've seen it before. It's like a little channel, like a Channel 10 room or something, like a little. Yeah, I noticed it at the Olympia. I think they had one of those rooms.
They're watching a webcast though. They're not watching it live.
How do they do it for UFC with the sound? You know what I mean?
Why do
you
they
look
do
at
that?
these other sports.
Is it because their voice sounds better in that room? Why do they do that though? What like, is it because their voice sounds better in an acoustic room, or what?
I think they're right. I think they're afraid that it might be too loud, the audience. But if they put headphones on these guys and they put good mics on them, very close mics, that should solve the problem, I would think.
Because you think about what about the UFC? So Joe Rogan and and Chris Cormier, they commentate UFC from literally from the sidelines and the crowds there. So
they're right there. You're right.
Yeah. That's a good idea, Dave. You should bring that up. They should do that.
Yeah, I know. Whenever I bring up these ideas, that they say I'm starting trouble.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave.
But it's true, because if the commentary is important for the people at home, and if you're going to do the right commentary, you really need to be there in front row and see it live.
Oh, and tell me it wouldn't annoy you. Imagine having to watch like your best friend or whatever from a room 20 meters away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like you're right there.
Yeah. It's tough. Yeah, it's tough. He's in a bad position for it, because if he says he doesn't look good, then he's putting the guy down. And if he says he does look good, people are going to say you're biased because he's your guy, And that's unfortunately, he was in a no-win scenario there, essentially.
Yeah.
Everyone's analyzing what he says too, based on because it's his athlete. So,
but that's why he really should be disqualified. He shouldn't do it. He shouldn't do it. I mean, it sucks because I know he wants to do it, but if he's got an athlete in there, it's like when Steve Weinberger and Dorian Yates were best friends. Steve would excuse himself from the judging panel because I'm sure he wanted to judge the Olympia, but he couldn't do it in an unbiased way, and he knew that, so he just wouldn't judge.
Yeah,
when Dorian competed.
Well, I know some people mentioned that about Paul Lozon doing the judging at the Arnold UK, because obviously he's good friends with Fouad, and Fouad's athlete Samson's competing in it and stuff. I think he actually even said that he was a little bit offended that people would think that he would be biased, but they sort of alluded to that Paul, they didn't say because the judges' scores weren't out there, but they alluded to that Paul voted for Hadi to win. So in the UK, so
well, that's good.
If that's the case, then yeah. Now, someone asks about Eddie Abbew. I don't know if you know who Eddie Abbew is, Dave, but someone said, views on Eddie Abbew's approach to diet. Does that work with bodybuilders or just the average person? Then I just asked the guy for Eddie Abbew's overall sort of philosophy, and which I thought it sort of already was. And he says, no protein shakes, creatine, pre-workout, as it has too many chemicals, just whole foods, also carbs only around training. Now, Eddie Abbew has a ton of followers. Like an absolute ton. I think it's 3-point-something million.
Does he really? I didn't even know that. Good for him.
Yeah,
it's
crazy. I follow him. But what do you think about? I don't know if you've seen his videos, Dave, but what do you think if you have?
Yeah, I think he's into health. You know what I mean? He thinks that people depend too much on supplements and not enough on food, and just worry about your macros. They're doing protein shakes and pre-workouts, and I can agree probably with the younger generation. The first supplement these young guys buy is a pre-workout, and the second supplement they buy is an amino acid drink, and they don't really get a good whey isolate. All the stuff that they should be buying, they're not buying, and so I think he's trying to let people understand that, hey, you know what? Get your diet down first before you start piling in all the supplements that your body doesn't even need. Vitamin, good multivitamin, multimineral obviously is important. I know, I make a really good one, demineralized. It's one of the best sellers we have. I make a good essential fatty acid supplement. Those are the things you should be taking. Pre-workout should be the last thing you buy. In other words, I see these guys, they complain, I have no money to do anything. I can't buy enough food. I can't. Meanwhile, they're all on pre-workouts. They're all taking amino drinks, and they think that that's going to make them a great bodybuilder. But if they're not eating the right amounts of protein in their diet, enough good fats, enough clean carbs, they're not going to achieve anything. They're wasting their time. So I think he's actually giving good advice in this sense.
Yeah, I think he gives good advice overall, definitely health wise, and like you said, Dave, about the supplements and all that sort of stuff. Like when a lot of people really should be focusing on the more natural side of foods and not eating as much, probably artificial sort of stuff.
If
but
you could do both, that's fine. But these people don't do both. They just do the stuff that they shouldn't even be worried about, you know?
Exactly. Like I think some people get triggered because I know he did something about energy drinks, and I've literally got one I'm drinking right now. And people get offended because it's what they do. You know, if they do that sort of stuff, they're going to get offended to a certain level.
Of course they are. Yeah.
I think that's why people get triggered by it. But
well,
and I saw it too, and I'm like, that's a little too far. He goes a little too far on how bad it is.
Yeah.
But he gets the message.
Well, ask the TikTok generation what what supplements they have in the cabinet: pre-workout and amino drink, and then they probably have a 24 pack of energy drink, rock stars or something like that, or whatever the latest energy drink that people are using, and it's all stuff you don't even need.
Yeah,
and they don't have any more money left to get the stuff they do need.
Well, I don't see the fascination with all these energy drinks. I don't even like them.
You're not a stim freak like Xavier is.
I'm not.
I like pre-workout, but the people that are 20, every time you see them, they're carrying a can of and it's some sort of energy drink, like in the carbonated ones.
Yeah.
I just don't see the obsession with it. I couldn't tell you the last one I drank.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of stims, but you know what? An energy drink does work really well. I got to give credit where credit's due. It's just not good to be stimming yourself out of your mind because it kills your appetite. You don't want to eat enough. You skip meals, and that's not good for bodybuilding.
Dehydrates you.
Yes, it does. Yeah. And the thing is, as well, I'll buy like a pack of 4 energy drinks and drink them over a week. You know, it's a bit different to a kid that is buying a 4-pack and buying that every second day.
One day.
You know, so you have four in a week compared to 14. Plus, they're doing pre-workout. Plus, they're maybe taking some fat burners. I've heard crazy things. Even a friend of mine who didn't really realize how much caffeine he was having pre-workout 1.5 scoops, which I think I worked out was 400 milligrams of caffeine. He's having 4 or 5 coffees a day. So you got another, 400 milligrams of caffeine at least, and then taking a fat burner. He's over 1 gram of caffeine a day, every day. And people wonder why they get, obviously the byproduct of that is cortisol, so they just get burnt out. And he had fatigue. And
I've done that before.
Yeah. You've done a gram?
Yeah,
of caffeine?
time 100. Because one time during Olympia prep, I was so exhausted, man. I had no energy. I started smashing like 5 coffees a day. And then I didn't realize when I was having my oxy shred in the morning with the fat burner, then I started training twice a day. And then one day I sat down and added it up, and I was like, fuck, I've had 1,200 milligrams of caffeine a day. I was like, but this was like 3 weeks out. I was dead. Like
you still wanted to fall asleep after taking all that.
Yeah, and honestly, I drink the pre-workout and I could fall asleep straight after it.
Aaron, I feel like I wouldn't want to be around you when you've had that much caffeine. Like, you're ADD anyway, so you with 1,200 milligrams.
You know what,
caffeine.
Xavier? What happens is that your central nervous system stops responding to the caffeine because it gets acclimated to it, but your heart and your blood pressure still keep going up. So you're getting all the negative health effects of it, and you're not even getting the benefit you're wanting, which is to wake up.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Dave, I've sort of had fatigue issues in the past, not so much now, but it's actually just a few days ago. I felt like I got hit with it, and I had that fatigue again. And I'm just got that exhaustion feeling where you're like, I would have actually some caffeine because I'm like, I need to wake up. I'm just tired. Have it. And then I actually feel more tired. And it's when you're at that point, you just need to cut the caffeine and just sleep or do something, because it's not working.
Yeah. No, you know what? You just said something really good. What I tell people to do is what I used to do back in the day is I would go drive to the gym, and if I felt tired, I would close my eyes. I'd recline my seat in my car. I'd sleep for 20 minutes. I'd wake myself up, and then I'd go into the gym and train. I'd have the best workout of my sleeping for 20 minutes is like better than any energy drink you can do. I used to do the same thing when I was in medical school. I would come home from the gym. All my friends would be studying like maniacs, drinking coffee. I would go into my room and I would take a nap for about 35, 40 minutes. I'd get up, I eat something, and I could study. I'd study the next 4 hours. It was like I studied for 8 hours. My productivity was so good because of that nap, because it restores all your brain, It resets.
That's what I do. That's exactly what I do. I get to the gym so many times, and and I'm falling asleep as I drive into the gym, and I recline my seat back. I have the music on, on, the aircon on, and I just go knocked out for 20 minutes. And I've had times where I wake up and then my partner's like, "How long are you gonna be?" And I'm like, "I'm just walking in." And she's like, "What have you been doing?" And I'm like, "I was asleep in the car."
I love it.
Yeah, and I feel refreshed.
In the car.
Yeah.
I've only done that when I prepped. I remember I was at the time I was doing a lot of like PT work and I had other work stuff as well. And I was prepping, and I remember driving to the gym and I had legs. So you're driving there and I'm going, I am so tired. I'm struggling to stay awake while I'm driving. So I'm like, this is going to be bad. And I got there and I think I had a PT client like 2 hours later. And I was like, do I have time for a nap? I'm like, yeah, I've got half an hour. It was like 30 something degrees. And I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, probably 90 something. Yeah. So I just blasted my aircon as hard as possible. And then I turned my car off, windows up, closed my eyes. Half an hour, I was saturated in sweat as soon as I finished. And then I was just waking up and being so asleep that I'm like, shit, I've got to wake up and go straight in and train legs to get this done.
Why did you turn the car off?
Yeah, I leave the car running.
Gas run?
I leave the car running.
I don't know.
You got to leave the car running.
Yeah.
All the wokies in Australia, Dave, I don't know. Yeah, bodybuilder lifestyle, trying to save money.
My car now, my new car, it says, do you want to keep the engine running after like 20 minutes? It warns you and it turns itself off.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's a pain. Yeah, they all.
That can be like that could be like an alarm. That's enough, and I'll just wake up.
You know, I'm going to leave you with the story. Then I got to go because I got to do some work. But I leased this new car. I got a new BMW X7 because my other lease was up. This car, if it has a camera inside that senses. So, and if you like were to fall asleep while you were driving, or let's say you were going to have a heart attack or something like that, and you drop, your head drops, the car will pull itself off the highway and will park itself on the side of the road and call BMW assistance. And they'll in the car, you'll hear them say, "Everything okay?" Incredible. The technology.
Imagine how much we'll be calling it in prep. Be calling you every 2 days.
Yeah. I know a lot of guys that would be getting called. You're right. Xavier, I got to run. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thanks for coming on, Dave. Appreciate it.
All right. Okay, bye.
Cheers.
All right. So, all right. Let's get freaky now. Dave's gone.
I've got to run too, bro. Because
do you?
Yeah, because my family all want to go to lunch, and they've been ringing me nonstop for the last 10 minutes. I'm at the front.
All right, one more question, man. One more question, then we'll wrap the whole thing up. Will Nick Walker, will his participation in the Arnold Classic, just say he competes next year, will it affect his peak for the Olympia negatively? Well, I didn't say negatively, but that's what they're implying. What do you think, Stan? Well, I'll get your opinion first, Aaron. What do you think?
Will this show he's doing now affect the Olympia, did you say?
No, if he does the Arnold next year, I suppose. But I suppose it's the same thing for this year. But he didn't actually compete in the Olympia last year.
No, I don't think it affects him. I don't think it affects him, bro. No.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Not at all.
Stan?
I mean, historically it did. People like Jay or even Ronnie the year he won both. The Olympia look kind of suffered. So if it's spaced out 6 months like it used to be, if when you push yourself, he's still young, but when you push yourself to that level, twice a year is definitely, more taxing than once. So the chances of peaking right the second time are a little less. You got to do a lot of work. Make sure you reset your nervous system. You're just not all your hormones. It's definitely more work. And I think if someone can do it, I think Nick can do it. But it's always been something in the past that caused issue for anyone who did both. The second look, the Olympia look, usually suffered from it. Yeah. So I don't see why it wouldn't actually affect him also,
Yeah, for sure. And the only thing I'll say on it, then we'll wrap it up so I can get going as well, is that the only thing I would think is that he's more likely the Olympia look would affect the Arnold, because there's 5 months between the Olympia to the Arnold compared to the Arnold then to the Olympia. I think you got about 7 months normally. So I think it's more likely his Olympia look would affect his Arnold look rather than the other way around. Because I think 7 months is sorry?
If it's before, it was September and March, it was 6 months exactly.
Yeah. Because is it September this year or October?
This year it's October.
Yeah. So I think you get slightly more time before the Olympia than the Arnold. But anyway, let's wrap it up there. I want to thank you guys so much for doing this podcast once again. Aaron and Stan, do you have any shout outs? I'll go to you first, Aaron. Do you have anyone you want to shout out, sponsors, anything?
Yeah, just Papa Macros, bro. They feed me every week, so shout out to them.
Yep, sweet. And Stan, what about you?
Team BSN and Trifecta, of course.
Love it, man. Are you going to be putting more stuff up on YouTube, Stan?
Yeah, I'm about to start soon, yeah.
Hell yeah,
Definitely.
15 weeks out. Aaron, are you doing anything with YouTube or nah?
Yeah, Monday, Tuesday.
Sweet.
Yeah, supposed to do it this week, but my videographer went to Sydney, so yeah, I just spoke to him today. Monday and Tuesday we're filming, so I'm going to try and do it every week till I go, because I'm going to be going in about 5 weeks. So
sweet.
Yeah.
Everyone go follow Stan and Aaron on YouTube as well, and also Dave Palumbo as well with RX Muscle. The links are in the description below. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for doing this. For myself, Xavier Wills, IFB 212 Pro Aaron Polites, and IFB Pro Stanimal Stan Longeaux, and Dave Palumbo of RX Muscle. We are out. That was good, man.
Yeah.
I got to rush. Like, my family's breaking my balls.
Too easy, man. All right, thanks for that. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Bodybuilding University, and if you did, give the video a thumbs up, smash that like button, and also subscribe and click the notification bell button. And that's particularly important because this is on a new channel compared to the original desktop bodybuilding channel. Now, both channels will still be running. The original channel will have more bodybuilding news, and this one will have the podcast and interviews. So make sure you subscribe, and if you're not subscribed to the original desktop bodybuilding channel, head over there and subscribe to that as well. Anyway, guys, that's it for this one. For all the guys at Bodybuilding University and myself, Xavier Wills, we are out.